Send it over to
Does she have another one?
It was caused by these gentlemen who didn't stop at one car and the other car fighting to the other car. What are they doing?
Yes.
I think that may be full here. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Jeff is out of the country.
He was gonna call in though.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, I don't know if he's called someone. We just ask. Caller number one, can you identify yourself?
You may not have it.
Okay. Besides Dan, who's online?
Not Jeff.
Right, sir.
Morning, Governor.
Morning.
I'm sitting in for the mayor who's on a business trip. He's coming back sometime later today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is now called to order. In line with Borough Seabright's long-standing policy of open government and compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to advise you that adequate notice of this regularly scheduled meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press and other local newspapers on January 10, 2023. In each instance, the date, time, and location of this meeting were provided in the notice. This meeting is open to the public. We stand for I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll. Councilman
Here. Here.
Booker. Allen.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Good. Here. Ryan.
Here.
And as I said, the mayor is on a business trip. First, for the remarks from the audience, we have 3 minutes to make the presentation. Everyone start off. Any comments from the audience?
Yeah, just had
Already got it marked, so we can hear you.
Oh, there?
Yeah, just try to hear this.
Yes, close to the
Just one issue, it's, a lot of his experiences also, is the garbage truck and the trail that it leaves, especially in summer, when it's a little more intense. If there's anything that can mitigate that, you know, spray or, and bleach or anything that you can think of, it would help, because it's not only stinks, it's a health hazard too, you know. So that's my only thing for this meeting. You're going to be truck trail.
Have you ever had any conversation with the driver and everything?
Yeah, I've talked to them, but they, you know, them guys are on the move. They don't have time to do stuff. They're going like crazy. We did report it last week, and we heard back from Zelli that they would get the truck repaired, but I Googled it, and it's a common problem throughout the state. I don't know what, but really the cleanup, I've struggled with every chemical I know, still leaves the stain and lingers.
Councilman Lammy is correct. He responded immediately to us. He took it off the road, said he was going to have it re-welded because the seams were open. It was a great response, but it's a common problem. And we deal with it a few times a year. I mean, we're always dealing with it.
And it was the same week that the truck, the street cleaner, went down, so he couldn't follow up and do anything to mitigate that. You need a different strategy.
I mean, in the contract, it says that that's a violation. I mean, it's a huge fleet that goes out every day. It's a difficult situation. I don't know how to prevent it. He responded, he took it off as, sent it out for repairs until we get the next one that has a seam broken or something in the back. It's an intense,
Pretty regular.
it's an intense operation.
Joe, I know that it's a fine balance here between supply and demand and availability of other vendors. Would we consider taking any action if they fail to remedy the situation?
It's in the contract. I mean, it's in the contract that it's a violation of the contract.
I mean, and then you have to look at the remedies section, and usually and I haven't seen it, I can review it if you want, but I haven't looked at it, but usually there's a cure provision that, they got so many days to cure something. That's usually in there. I haven't looked at it.
They do, it is, and they cure it, and then a month later, it comes back again.
He did offer to send a
Street cleaner.
Street cleaner. I guess we have to watch and see what happens today.
I would take one on that.
Yeah, maybe we ought to take them up on that.
I mean,
think.
I saw Crush, the truck just exploded. I don't know if it was Angelica's, if it was a Thai restaurant, they just filled it, and all of a sudden a huge overflow just flew back right onto Ocean Ave.
Yeah, I was trying to figure, most of the garbage is in plastic, but I think once the hopper
Yeah.
crushes it, then it'll be.
So, I would take them up on the street cleaning.
Well, maybe we take them up on the street clean. That might be a good meeting. If there's now getting the street clean is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be out.
I'm sorry?
No, I just mean calling a company to come in right after.
Yeah.
We had a company in years past.
Oh, yeah.
We can ask them to come in and pay them, and he said
It's an extra day contract.
he said he would pay our bill.
Yeah, I mean, just a thought, and I understand we don't want to be in a no-bidder situation because we all have one. But in my mind, if they, the drivers know what's happening when it's happening. They see the trail behind the truck, right? The guys are jumping off. I would consider the possibility of saying, hey, just as a warning, the next time it happens, we have remedy clauses that we can use, and we just want to let you know we may use them. Because unless there's some pressure to do something, there'll be a sorry, I'll clean it up. So, I mean, I would just consider that, maybe that's up to the DPW team.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. We'll call the street cleaner and send them the bill.
There's got to be some consequences, otherwise it's just, I'm sorry.
Won't happen again, and it happens again.
Right.
Anybody else have remarks? Anyone online? Start with our Anderson discussion on the one capital projects update.
Can I just interrupt for a second, Chris? I'm getting a note that there's no audio. Which I don't
There we go, no worries.
Okay, good. Are we working now, Chris, next time?
Should we re-ask if anybody has?
Yes.
Anyone
Can you
online
hear
have
us?
questions? Remarks? Comments? Again, first item, capital projects update.
A couple of items. We need to revise our beach erosion grant request from Monmouth County upward. They pay 20% of the share of the local share. And now that we have the settlement agreement with the state, we have to revise our grant request. Monmouth County is ready to pay their 20%, but next week we'll have it on the agenda, and Monmouth County will pay their 20%. We'll pay our balance. And do we have the numbers? Do you have the numbers with us, Chris? Just for the heck of it.
They were in the packet. If you're online, can you go to mute, please?
New balance, right, is 955,000.
Correct. And the county will increase from 403 to 636, and ours is from 605 to 955. Mike's ready for that. We've been ready for that. Actually, we paid our share.
We owe more though.
But we have the balance.
350,000.
So that will be in next week's agenda. Northway, Greg went out and took a look at Northway after complaining about the condition of Northway.
Yeah, there's a lot of utility cuts in there, there's a lot of work in that road. We looked at the curbing and the concrete work out there is fine, so we would just need to mill and repave that. And I think we did an estimate of $7,000.
The contractor that's doing the road program would revise his, is that who would do it?
We put it in this year, along with the ones we're going to put out the next month.
Very good. So if we're okay with adding Northway, that's just another,
Some Northway will be added to the three we're doing down this way.
The new road program is going to be up in about a month, not the southern of the
Add
town.
Northway into that.
Yeah.
one other item I'd like to bring up is the 5G right-of-way agreement. As you know, we passed the 5G ordinance establishing rules and regulations regarding the placement of those poles. Not that it's a requirement, but it's something that the telecommunications companies are allowed to do by law, by federal law. We've revised ours. Other towns are having a problem. So now it's time for us to determine who and how we will allow that to happen with the right-of-way agreement. Rich, we've talked to two companies, Unisite, which is an independent third party that puts up poles and then allows 5G carriers to go on them for a fee. And then we've heard from Verizon that I believe wants a right-of-way agreement. They've been reluctant to provide us with some of the information necessary. Greg and Rich have been working on this. The Unisite, there's an advantage to Unisite in one respect that they are a third party. They want all three carriers on their pole, so they make it convenient for all three carriers to be there and hopefully limit the proliferation of the towers. Verizon, independent, their own, they tell us that they will co-locate, allow other carriers on their pole. I don't know that they make it as easy as maybe another for-profit operation does, but they're another one out there. We have not heard from T-Mobile or AT&T in any way at this point, but we have an application for a right-of-way agreement with Unisite. We kind of have an application from Verizon, I think. Is that correct,
I
Richard?
don't know that they ever made a formal application. I think they were just making, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were just making comments and requests for revisions on the ordinance. I don't know if they ever made a formal application.
That's correct.
And they were somewhat reluctant to give us their site location.
Yes, they still are. They still have not given us there.
So if we want to move forward and maybe control our own destiny, I would recommend Unisite personally. That's up to council. But we have an application. It's ripe for a decision. Our ordinance is in place. I don't know what council's pleasure is.
Is there a deadline, Joe?
Technically, we have a time limit to act on it.
When they file for a permit, you did what they call shot clock protect. They, on a new pole, well, it's 120 if it's a new pole and 90 if it's in addition to a pole. I think that's right. I don't know that the right-of-way agreement is a permit application. So I don't know that there is, but it's certainly not something we want to let linger.
So what should we do? I mean, I'm getting calls about it. I don't want to be in the same position as Belmar is. I mean, it got shoved down their throat. They're putting them wherever they want. They're trying to fight it. I don't know how they fight it. They've lost their time clock. They've already entered into an agreement. But I just don't want to put us in a position where they can put them wherever they want.
Joe, let me ask you a couple of questions. First of all, my view on this, if you're looking for council member input, would be to listen to our professionals and take your advice. That would be my first approach on this, right? The second thing is, do we have all the information that we need to know to make an informed decision at this point? Are we comfortable that we know what we need to know to make an informed decision?
Well, like Joe said, from the Muni site point of view, we're comfortable because they've given us a layout of their proposed poles, which is what we needed to make sure they're limited. We have, the only thing we've heard from Verizon is just they contested a lot of the things in our ordinance, not even come up with their own. You know, we would ask for them to submit that plan several times in several meetings, and they have not. They seem to be more in tune. They want to leave the existing wood poles on and use those so nobody else can co-locate.
Right.
So I think from our point of view, Muni site has given us what we want for Verizon.
And we have enough from Union side to make an informed decision, you're comfortable with that?
I am.
Okay, the second thing is, if we decide Union side, is it likely that Verizon will take legal action?
They have intimated they would. Whether that is likely or not, I do not know.
I mean, our ordinances says if there's a pole there that you can use, you need to use it. If it's not at a location that you need, there's an appeal process in the ordinance where they can appeal it.
Right.
And say, we can't go there because our beam doesn't, whatever, the waves don't go the right way. So there's an appeal process if they don't want to be at that location. And then if they can be at that location, our ordinance says you need to be at that location if it works, right?
That's what our ordinance says, absolutely.
One of the, it's kind of a weird situation, but I don't think Verizon can come after us until after the first pole's in. Because right now it's kind of a floating system. Whoever puts the first pole is going to dictate where the rest go. So Verizon, I don't think would be able to contest what we're doing until they put the second pole and say we don't go there. And if you gave it to Muni site, we have to, like Joe said, a third party that could defend their locations versus somebody just coming and saying we want two in a row and we don't need any help in other locations. And we've had that discussion with Verizon saying, you know, we don't think you need them closer than 500 feet. And they kind of came back and said, well, what if we can't fit on a certain corner? And that's what the appeal process was for. You can move it slightly one side of the intersection to the other, but, you know, going mid-block distances for whatever reason, you have to move it. So I think that, you know, they're kind of didn't really push the distance down to the second.
Yeah. Richard, are you comfortable if we do that one further?
Yeah, I mean, as Greg said, until the poles are there and there's actually permits, it may not be what they call legally ripe, which means ripe in the same sense as fruit. You can't bring anything, bring a suit. But I think, and this, you know, the standards on these things are pretty amorphous in terms of the wording used, but, you know, we have opportunities for polls, we have an opportunity for appeal, and presumably Munisite would have the data to back up why the polls should be where they should be, so I think we're on pretty good ground.
Okay.
The second item is that we haven't really gotten into that dialogue with Verizon. We have with Munisite to a certain extent. Munisite's willing to work with us on what it looks like. More of a monopole, like our current tower, only smaller, any color, aluminum, black, whatever you want. The Verizon is a pretty standard, we call it a Q-tip look, where it's big on the bottom, it gets small, and then it gets big on the top again. I suspect they have those same unipoles, but...
Yeah, they actually do. They show us pictures. They have more. They don't. They're not just limited to the Q-tip. They have the more.
So I think that, you know, that's, to my taste, that's a little better than the Q-tip look.
Yes.
So if they could both do it.
So my take on this, and then other council members can chime in. Number one, I think if we do nothing, there's something being done, right? So I think taking it in our own hands is the right thing. The second thing is any company that is motivated to have multiple suppliers available to me is favorable versus a monopoly situation. So I think that's beneficial. With regard to Verizon, in my mind, as soon as you lose, right? If you have not provided what's necessary to be looked at effectively, then we'll look at what we presently have. And the last thing I'll say again is if our professionals think that's the way to go, my vote is to move out. And I'd be interested to hear what other council members think.
Just one question. Have we formally, officially contacted Verizon? And is there a letter? Or we have
As to what? As to notifying them as to?
As to, we're looking for your response, and your proposal. Just like to have a record that we made in the town.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. We certainly have asked them for the plan, which they rejected, the plan as to where the poles would be. And we've had quite a bit of dialogue. So, I mean, I would say, yeah, we pretty much.
Yeah, we've met with Verizon
We've given
two
them
times face to face.
Yeah.
We've given them the ordinance to review to comment in writing. They commented. I think we're on solid ground with that. I mean,
So I just want to make sure.
I understand.
If they take us to court and say, hey, on this date, and you did not respond.
We certainly can show that they didn't respond to the request for the plan and what they were planning to do. Yeah, that's pretty fine.
I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
So, Joe, do you need anything else?
only for Rich. I don't know what we need to do.
Well, maybe we can redistribute the right-of-way agreement and put it on an upcoming agenda. It does need a resolution to be paid.
Okay, could you prepare that?
Sure.
Thank you.
So you have direction now.
Thank you. I do.
That's,
No,
Mr. Q, I just had one update for the, I met with Dave and Rob for Public Works Garage down River Street. Now that we've kind of resolved the situation with Verizon, I mean, with JCP, they do not have a line across our property. We've kind of come down to the size of the garage. We confirmed there's a sewer line on the east side of the building that was active, so we can't leave and do that. But the building now remains at 90 by 45. We went over the sizing of all the equipment that we have and we put in there. We're pretty confident we can fit all their equipment in there. We think we've worked out all of the logistics for the containers on the property. So I think we're ready to move forward. So next month I'll have a cost estimate and a relatively simple site plan to show all of you what we're doing with that. And then we'll have the cost associated with it, and we'll have to move forward after the funding after that.
and just as an add-on, I just gave Greg the sewer permit application from Denholz. That's kind of the last item they need prior to a CAFA permit from the state. And they're going to they plan on starting demolition in the fall. So unfortunately, the first thing we're doing is getting rid of the buildings that we occupy. So I don't know what we do in the interim. I guess they're going to be in the elements, I suspect, for a period of time until we get the proper building in place, which that's not going to be fast. We have financing, we have design, we have a whole host of things. So it's imminent. Denholz has done everything on this side of the table. They're just waiting on CAFA approval from the state.
Anything on the DOT valves that we can do, or?
We are doing them all. We've talked to them. I talked to their engineer last time, it was probably 6 weeks ago now, and we told them that one of the things that they didn't consider was the discharge into the ocean or into the river. They actually had it coming to a head wall before it used to end out in the river on that outlet, and they were not aware of that. They came and looked at it again, and they realized that was a mistake. So they were supposedly redesigning it, and I haven't heard back from them. So I will reach out to them and see where that's at.
Greg provided Senators O'Scanlan a primer on what's going on, and hopefully the senator is going to act on our behalf. That was a big hang-up. If you remember, it was flooding and pretty bad, 2 months ago. It flooded out, and the state came and jetted it out, and it was full of sand. So I think it reinforced what Greg was telling them. You can't just let it end right at the the beach or whatever. And so hopefully they'll redesign that and agree with us. Greg's recommendations to them were small. I mean, it was just a little
Turn direction.
And I guess the property owner didn't want a manhole in the back of their yard. They wanted it covered. They didn't want to cover it for maintenance, which he never comes. So I don't know what maintenance they were talking about, but I think we could let him live with that and then have Public Works go put a pile of dirt on top of it, throw some seed, and it'll be covered. It's not a huge deal.
Joe, any update on the state-funded pedestrian crossings?
None, haven't heard from him.
The expedited list ones were supposed to happen this year, right?
Yeah, I'll make a call today. Crosswalk.
I know the other ones, 2 to 3, maybe 4 years out. The other 5, but the 2 of them are gonna happen quick. We thought.
What's your definition of work?
Yeah, the state is not always that quick.
Public safety update, chief?
Come right up from here.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Good morning, everybody. I want to just make this kind of quick. I know you guys have a lot going on. As of today or last night, the parking numbers are about $594,000. We are down 42 from last year, which isn't that bad. A couple decent weekends to make it back up. So John said 594. Money's still coming in, obviously, from the credit cards and all that kind of stuff. So those are some pretty good numbers right there for us.
Especially losing June.
Losing June, we lost a lot. We caught up quick, and just some of the observations that I will tell you off we had some of these activities that we've had at nighttime with the lifeguard tournaments, the bands, the volleyball. This town has been jammed at nighttime. I mean, absolutely packed, which I couldn't even believe a few times. So that's brought a lot of money in. During the week, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays has been pretty good. The bands, they did a good job with that. Some of our numbers for the parking and stuff like that for. Yeah. All right, pay to park, we did about 580 tickets. Permit parking about 159, business 4, 15 to 30 minutes 62. Within the lines 20, towaways 67. Municipal parking regulations about 40. Street sweep was 44, which could have been a lot more, but we were having problems with the sweeper. Bridge attendant parking 2, reserve parking 1, prohibited parking signs 1. Total summonses for the month of July is about 1,077, which is could be the most we've written.
Just for the month of July.
Just for the month of July. Some of the numbers are still coming in. 980 were parking and 97 were moving, which is pretty good if anybody.
I did hear Trish say yesterday, he was like, whoa, we got a big credit report from fines that we figured that we'd have a lot.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the actual money are coming in from the court. It usually comes, it trickles in and they have more court dates. I know they have court dates. I'm not even sure about what that is.
When we changed the ordinance, so that you take it from 50 to 125, we said one of the 3 things can happen. Less illegal parking, higher revenue, or both. It sounds like it's both.
It's going to be both.
And our goal is compliance, not necessarily revenue. Our goal is
That's right, that's what we're after, is compliance.
Some of the other stuff, we had 836 calls for services, which includes the motor vehicle stop, theft, a couple cars got stolen, normal drugs and narcotics, domestics, DWIs, lots of first aid calls, fights, domestic, municipal code, you name it, we had in July, but July was a good month for us. Chad, we'll go over real quick if you want to know what happened with this accident on the bridge.
Brett, anything on smoking on the beach or in public spaces?
We've had a few of those. I don't have the exact numbers.
Last month we reported 4.
Yeah, I don't have the exact. I don't think we had any. That would have been within municipal regulations, but we didn't have a lot of smoking on the beach because we're just not finding the people. We're having people calling in. We're going out there writing the alcohol bottles on the beach, everything else, but we're just not getting the smoking on the beach.
I know I'm a nuisance, but could you please just track that
Sure.
report on that monthly?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Is there anything on towaways
how many cars we towed.
Yeah, what was the biggest one, what was the problem?
I don't have a record of how many tows we actually, did I say we had tows?
It's
Oh, towaway zones, ticket and towaway, it's 67. That doesn't mean that we actually towed 67 cars. I don't think we even came close to that. But vehicles that could have been towed blocking a driveway, could have been that, parking in the yellow zone. That's what the towaway, the 2016C.
I misunderstood that, but that was up to the code first.
Yeah, but the numbers.
Who do you call, I'm sorry, but,
We call Seabright Service Center or Johnny U, both Highlands. They're the closest.
yeah, no, that's important.
Than anybody else. And a couple times they couldn't even make it here. We called them for cars to be towed, and they're not waiting an hour to get to Seabright. Yeah. So it was a pretty good month overall. Any questions?
Good work over there.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Morning.
All right, by the numbers, July was probably by far the busiest month we've ever logged, ever. 127 calls per week. Yeah, puts us at 389 for the year. We're still maintaining that sub 5-minute response time, which is something I like to hang my hat on. Currently it's at 3 minutes, 29 seconds from the time you pull 911 until it pulls up here. 3,816 man hours for the month of July. Again, those are all volunteer hours, guys being there, doing things. 4 really points of training that I want to capitalize, most of which were with the guards. This past Monday, we did a mass casualty drill on the beach. Sheriff's office came down and us up here, and then we did a mass drowning scenario out back, which went off pretty well. In addition to that, we took our seasonals and put them through 2 different weekends of training with the guards. And then we did a joint training with Sandy Hook for medevac landing and helicopter go on the park. Some updates. I'm working with the garage door company. There's money left over in that insurance to fix the rest of the problems with the garage doors, including stainless steel cabling, because the cables keep snapping, and remounting the motor. So I spoke with them yesterday. They're going to try to get out sometime next week. Got the prices back yesterday for the engine refurb, below that 60,000 number. So I spoke with Joe yesterday, and I'll speak with the clerk and get that resolution for September meeting. So the job is available under short swap contract, so we're going to avoid the bid process.
What about the bridge?
So the bridge accident, my 1-day shift I worked this entire year. It was a line of cars stopped on the bridge. An older male came over. His statement, speaking with him, he doesn't recall what happened. Witness statements, other statements from the other driver involved. He just came over and barreled into all the stopped vehicles. Total cars involved were 8. Total injuries were 9, 4 of which went to the hospital. So.
And it held us up.
Bridge was closed for 3 hours.
Navigation as well?
Yes, and they were riding out there. State police came and settled them down on the river. Reason being is what the chief just mentioned before about towing was getting tow trucks in. There's 3 tow trucks having to remove 8 vehicles. And it was just that constant having to pick cars up, bring them to Highlands, sit traffic to come back. And then we had to wait for the county public works to come out and clean up all the debris because there was a large debris field, which normally we would handle ourselves, but because it was so large, the county had to come out with a sand truck and sweeper and clean the whole bridge up. So that's why there's that longer duration of the closure.
Chad, events like this don't happen too often. Any lessons learned from it? Anything that we sit back and say, hey, we took something away from it?
It was a good, I can speak on the fire side, it was a good experience for one of my younger guys who was running that, because I was working.
He learned a lot from that in regards to mass casualty, getting that patient count, getting the resources. On the law side, I had a good group of specials working, and I was able to get all 8 vehicles down with all the occupants and all the injuries documented, probably within 15 minutes. I was fortunate to have the special staff that I had working that day. I think it's just it's a nature of what Seabright is with the traffic, which was the biggest hamper of clearing that crash. It was the tow trucks, waiting for the tow trucks to come, and then trying to get the county highway in to clear the bridge. So I wouldn't have done much different, to be honest. The mutual aid worked out well. We had Rumson, Palm Beach, and Highlands came in while the Seabright officers were documenting the crash. They took care of the traffic for us, which was nice. I don't really see much. It was a good experience. I don't see much that I would have done.
He's going to be my new traffic safety officer.
Nope.
He's the new traffic safety officer.
Still taking
for the daytime and the summer.
This happened on Sunday. I'm still taking
Sounds like a great job by the team.
So, no, I from the crash specifically, I have nothing to take away from it. Like I said, it was a good experience for one of my members.
Just the accident people going to the hospital, it's all recovered.
Yeah, it was all very minor injuries.
And you mentioned several of the cars were totaled.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I came from Rick Hennessy too. I'm not a car guy, but he made it clear that most of those cars were. Not all.
No.
Not all.
The first ones.
Yeah, first few.
1, 2, 3.
Yep. Like 1 through 6.
Must have been going pretty,
Oh yeah.
pretty fast. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Yes, sir.
Item number 3, we'll go to the car show, special event.
Well, car show.
Yes,
Come on.
my name is Jack Torres. I'm here with my associate Rick McKenna. We represent the Antique Rotary Club of Monmouth County. And together with our sponsors, the Clean Water Clam Company of the block, Mike Bamber and Tim Ryan, they approached us asking if we could help them out in having a car show. And we've been a well-established car club since 1963. We average around 85 car shows per year. So this is a walk in the park for us. I've been president for 11 years. My vice president, Rick McKenna, has been with me throughout the entire time. So this is really nothing for us as far as the ordinary for us to do. In fact, this weekend we have another car show at the Parker House Homestead in Little Silver. With that said, Mike Hammer and Tim Ryan both approached, members of the City Hall, and I believe they spoke with Councilman John Lamaya, and I spoke with you a number of times, and I guess we were all set verbally to run the show, and we ended up getting the information that we needed to finalize and formalize the application process, and I quickly took care of that on the last Friday, because they called me on Thursday, so last Friday I turned in the paperwork, and basically it's for September 17th, and the meeting that they were asking for me to attend or for us to get approval would be September 6th. Kind of tight. I can do miracles in 2 days, so that's not a problem on our end. But it's just obviously getting the approval from City Council, and of course knowing what it is and what to expect from us and the car show itself. Basically, we would look to utilize the 2 front lots, not complete, but at least 150 to 200 spots. Utilizing the electrical outlet by the building for the DJ. And of course, the last lot would be for the public. They can park their cars there free of charge. We're looking to charge $20 per car, $10 per motorcycle. And the funds are distributed in 3 portions. The first portion goes to pay for the expenses of the show. Trophies, donuts, coffees, paperwork and stuff like that. The second 2 portions will be divided evenly between the Antique Motoring Club of Monmouth County, which is a 501c7, a not-for-profit, and the EMS Fire Department, which should be a 501c3 charity, who will distribute that amount of money evenly so that we give them a donation for having the event here obviously from the club, from Mike and Tim. We also take care of everything internally. We'll be handing out trophies, around 35 to 50 trophies, dash plaques for all the participants coming into the event. And of course, we are self-insured, so we have insurance already for the premise on the day of from 10 to 4. Also, we have the liability portion on the application that almost everyone has here. The bottom portion is the actual rider of releasing the township of any liability. And of course, every single car coming in will have that sign as they come in, basically. Food, if there's any food, we're not looking to do any kind of food at all, unless the fire department and the EMS would have their own display of food. So there's no need for us to get any kind of permits for the Department of Health and so on and so forth. We do recommend everyone to utilize the businesses across the street so that they can obviously all be part of it and I guess make some promotion for their businesses to thrive a little more than I guess what they do. And of course, this is after the holiday, so obviously the utilization of the library may be open, don't know, it's on Saturday, with the rain date of the Sunday. And of course, the handicap section will be accessible. You'll have entryway on that main strip right here, along the building, to exit without a problem at any time. We will not be blocking the police department or fire department section at all. We just will have a selected amount of cars in the front here, and then the bulk of the cars will be in the main center drive there. And that's basically where we are. Obviously, the approval.
So you expect 200 participants?
I'm expecting I could, at times when people want to come out, I could get 200 participants.
And then what would the count be on visitors? A guy like me wants to come and look at the car.
It's unlimited. You can come
So that pretty much takes up all of our parking, probably.
well, you have 200 spots on the other side where people could easily park on that side of the street. Parking
It's still September 17th. It's 16. It's we're still busy on September 16th, although we don't charge. So we'll have to keep that in mind.
Jack, thank
There
you.
may not be beach parking.
Joe, a question. As far as the application process, is there anything that we need to do that has not already been done?
Well, it's
Well, it didn't go to special events, so DPW didn't know about it. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
But as far as the Jack and his team, is there anything else they would have to do in order to be in a position for us to approve this?
I think the top candidates have gotten
the hold harmless and the insurance requirements and things of
no
that.
charge for this.
Yeah. So Jack, if I could ask a couple questions. First of all, just from my perspective, I'm thrilled about this. I think this is a fantastic opportunity for the county. I think in addition to putting Seabright on the map for a lot of different things, I think an event like this draws a lot of people, which helps our merchants a lot, which you pointed out. It's September 16th, so it's past the time to be charged for parking, which is good. So there's no lost revenue associated with this. The fact that you're making a contribution to the fire department, police, CNS, we greatly appreciate because we need that. So the last thing I want to say is I know John's been very involved in this. I don't know if Heather has been as well, but hopefully we move forward with this, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I think what he's looking for is we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's a coordination to do. We did one before, and I was told it was one of the most successful things we ever did.
Well, you know what might be useful though, approving it, you folks, but maybe going to the next meeting to hear what Public Works, Police, and everyone else has to say. to formalize, what you need to do. Not,
Yeah, I mean, just to move the ball forward, are there any particular concerns?
Well, I just have a question from, you said the only other food that would be offered would be from the fire company.
Right.
If they want,
If they
to
If you wanted to
Do
do
you
so.
guys want to do any food for the car show?
We did some burgers though.
Only if you want, like, are you
Oh,
planning
yeah, I'm sure I'll have a discussion with Charlie because he's my public guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll round the children
to?
up.
And then do it else.
Yeah, we got the hay walking from them.
Okay. All right, so we're clear on whatever direction we go with that, we're gonna be clear and follow protocol.
and if they're not, then it's the businesses.
Yeah. That's not the weekend you're having the open house, right? Or is it? Yeah. Okay.
What about the parking for the beach? How many spots are we gonna have available?
I don't know.
They could
That's-
consume them.
We might good.
What's that, John?
They
Sorry.
could consume them.
Be it Saturday?
Yeah. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4.
And parking is done, paid parking is done.
Paid parking is done. It's just a concern that you have somebody that wants to go to the beach, maybe can, but,
You can't
There's-
put all the cars on.
Yeah, we will allow, not we will allow, but there will be at least 200 spaces available for them to park. They could go to the beach, they could just come in and.
Yeah, the thing, Jack, that is being expressed here is on a beautiful September day of the 16th, we could have a full parking lot without you.
Yes.
Which means that a lot of the people coming to Seabright to enjoy the beach may not be able to. That's what you're hearing here. But, I mean, if you have, let's pick 150 cars, right? We have about 500 spots available here in the public area. If you have 150 additional people that come to see the cars, and just making the numbers up, then your point of 200 may still be available, which we're not shutting it down to public access for the beach. We are limiting the public access for the beach, for the event.
On my standpoint, on it, just give me a number, if 200 is too much, and once I reach that plateau, we cut off, we just turn people away.
Yeah, let's go back. Brett, any particular concerns?
No, we would definitely walk the site and look at some pictures, during the week before that. I would suggest that obviously you're gonna have to have a police out there too for the whole day. Maybe even someone the night before just calling off certain sections so no one's parked there, so we can lock everything down, so that way you don't have to worry about everybody coming, you can already have your spots locked, taken care of, we'll do that.
We usually do the dog park takes, the portion takes.
Yeah.
And all my guys are looking very dressed, we do our phones to set up.
We'll have some
signage.
If it's on a Saturday, we'll have a packed Friday night crowd out here. So we'll just make sure, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, at midnight, people can start calling stuff off and that kind of stuff like that. We can go over all that, but it shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay.
I would definitely have the police out there to see if they don't have that.
Chad, any concerns?
No.
No. Dave?
No.
So what will be important is Friday, we know we could have a onslaught of Friday night.
that's why we
Put it done by
Yeah.
10 a.m.
that's going to be.
And Jack, you said that if it's a rain day, you move to Sunday?
To Sunday, correct. And what we do, and we've done this at every single event we do, we keep the place clean. After we're there or after we're gone, you won't even know we're up here. So it's not like we leave.
They don't have to be other people.
Second? No, we do it, it's, it's how we are. I usually have 10 volunteers to come and they're wearing their vests, helping direct traffic and so on and so forth. So it'll be a smooth transition. The DJ will be doing the performing, he'll be singing live also. And Bobby Marino. And basically, a very, the music he plays broadband of different eras, and he sings really nice too, so that's just a compliment that some folks should just sit around and just watch him sing.
So question, if we were to have a rainy weekend, do you have the ability to drop this back from the following weekend? Or
The
is
second, the next day.
The next day would be ideal, the worst case scenario, but obviously,
how much rain you can tolerate? But sometimes you get a wet weekend.
when stuff like that, then we regroup and we figure out what is available. The same way the city makes it planning of what to do. We have events booked until November already. So I'll look to see what's the next best date that we have. Obviously, that works for you and us, so we can do that. And then we're at the spur of the moment, so.
Light rain, you still have.
Light rain, where are we gonna come? Yeah. Hurricane, and a lot of convertibles will not come out. I can tell you that much.
I'm just thinking, we have the school lot, they have volunteers, maybe the volunteers, anyone who's working your day, parking in the school lot.
Yeah, of course.
They have a little sign or something.
Yeah, that won't be an issue at all. We'll have the area cleared off where they'll still have access to around the parking area on this side here, and exit easily. It will never be an issue at all.
Do we have anything else to give Jack?
I wanted to ask if he has any input on the, for September, we're having a car show in the parking lot, taking basically the entire parking lot.
6th,
Yeah.
So, Saturday, right?
Yeah.
They're projecting about maybe half to 2/3 utilization of the parking lot.
Yeah. As far as beach operations, won't affect us. I mean, we're not charging. We will have guards here if we need guards. If the weather's, good. Outside of that, we'll come. But for as far as the beach, it's not.
No big deal.
No.
Anything else we need to do, Jack? Give Jack a thumbs up, Joe? Or?
Yeah, just if nobody's opposed to it, we'll let them ask and move forward and meet with our professionals, our police and public works, and then work out the logistics.
Is this already gone out on your public network?
Yes, we advertise both on our website, word of mouth. We have 309 club members, so we just pass the information just to them. Plus, we go for the general public, anybody that wants to come, we welcome them as well. And that went on the NewJerseyCarShows.com, and we invite everybody to come. We're inclusive. We don't exclude anybody from any event that we're trying to do. So
This is already gone out on your network.
I have everything. It's already posted on my network. I can always pull it, plug it, change it, alter it in any way if need be. So
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Jack.
Thank you so much.
Next item we have is Monmouth County commodity resale agreement for the renewal recorder.
Chris, you put that on?
It's a, continuing our agreement with the county.
Shared service.
Any concerns, Chris?
I don't really know that much about it. DPW uses it, I think, in their sand or salt and things like that. Yeah.
I just keep, just on this, the tanks, you get gasoline, but not diesel, right?
We just get gasoline and then right in the locker here.
But you're, it's not the county, you have a contract with the private vendor.
Correct. We use Swan fuel oil, and they deliver a couple hundred gallons into that tank, so we can gas up our side-by-sides,
The county doesn't deliver.
jet skis, all the beach vehicles. It's not practical going and getting 50 gas cans. It's easier to pull up right there and safer to pull up right there and get it filled.
So we don't, the county's not involved in this.
The county's not involved in that, filling up their tank. The county's involved in sand, other commodity purchases that we have the ability to buy from them.
Just listed, fuel, I understand, we're not using that.
Joe, any issues from you?
None.
Keep it the same, no
Yeah,
more
so-
or less.
See?
Should we just check and see what the county price is on fuel?
I think we were using them in Belford after the storm, right? To a certain extent. Right after the storm.
We want anywhere we can get gas.
But I mean, I can, yes, I can personally, I can get it.
They mentioned specific gasoline and diesel, I suppose to see if there any significant savings.
Okay, so just an update, the subject is fire pit safety. If you remember, a little over a month ago, Tom Hagen called into one of our sessions and indicated a desire to put an ordinance in place to handle fire pits and fire pit safety in town. Both chiefs have indicated that they have not gotten any significant complaints or issues associated with them, but nonetheless, we presently have nothing on the books to cover fire pit management, or if something is wrong, the chiefs don't have the ability to actually go do something about it. So the recommendation was we consider putting an ordinance in place. I asked Tom Hagen to look around, canvas, and develop one that he thought would best suit our needs. He came up with one from Ventnor City, which I have a copy of. I took a look at it. I think it's pretty good. There'd be some changes that we would probably want to make. But the thought around this, if there's council concurrence, is because particularly in the downtown area, there is risk associated with fire pits, proximity, potential if there is a fire catching from one house to the other. We don't expect as a result of putting this ordinance in place, there's going to be a lot of fines issued. What it does do, just as we're discussing with the electrified safety issue, is put the chiefs of fire and police in a position that something is documented and if action needs to be taken, they're doing it with the authority of the ordinance. So with that as a recommendation, council members, what I'd like to propose, if you're all okay with this, is we ask Richard to take a look at this, look at this draft, work with Tom Hagen to tailor it to determine any changes that we would possibly want to make on it, and then bring it back for review and concurrence of the council. So I don't know if anybody has any comments, concerns, objections, recommendations around that. So I think it's a good thing for us to consider. They're very popular. The other thing I will say that I tend to pick up a little bit in the downtown area is in our Airbnb population, there are a lot of them that talk about fire pits in the backyards, and they're actually being operated by somebody other than the owner. And in some ways, that creates a little bit of concern, risk, responsibility on how it's handled. So I open it up for comment or discussion if anybody wants to object, suggest, or make any other recommendations other than asking Richard to take a look at it, work with Tom, bring it back to the council for review, for consideration of putting it in place.
I just had a couple questions. Is this, we're talking about actual fire or propane or natural gas or like everything?
I think it's intended to cover all. Okay. I think that's the intent. And as Tom put it, a lot of the houses being built these days have structures which have fire pits encased with concrete around it or all that kind of stuff, very often run by gas. Right. He said that's not the one we're concerned about. We're sort of more concerned about the portable one sitting in somebody's backyard 10 feet from the neighbor's wall with the potential of putting the house on fire. Right. So I think Tom would probably frame it in a way that makes sense to the town, and then we can review it and propose any changes or concerns.
Do we need something to go out at some point that says what you're allowed to do, or you just create the ordinance? Because if they're already doing it, we had some issues recent time with Airbnb, and I'm not sure if everyone knows what they're supposed to do if there's a concern. Is it a police matter, or is it a call from a call?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think if we make an ordinance and we don't communicate it, nobody knows it exists. So we just went through this with the short-term rental thing, right? And we made a splash all over the place, everywhere we could. We sent out information, we contacted people we knew were doing this. This is a little bit of a different situation. So I would suggest if we review and approve this and put it in place, Heather communicates it on the website that we have. We put it out in front possibly. We make sure we include it in the annual mailers that we do that go out to everybody. But I agree completely, we'll have to find a way of communicating this, otherwise people won't even know about it.
Is there, in the vendor ordinance, I don't know when they did it, I was an administrator there for 4 years, but is there anything about smoke? That's the only thing we get complaints about, more than my house is going to burn up. Because if we've been around fire pits, sometimes you have to sit on one side because it's blowing that way.
Yes, so it's interesting you raise that point, because Tom identified that as a particular area of concern, but we've got to be careful of it, because you can get into neighbor fighting with each other because of smoke situations. So what he suggested is we take a close look at what we want to handle there specifically on how we want to word that. The way it's written right now, the vendor one, you could report somebody for smoking in the area.
Okay, I don't know how.
And he's just cautioning us that you don't want to have neighbors fighting over something like this. It's got to be something egregious, because you can't have a fire pit with wood without smoke.
Right. I'm just saying that that's probably more common complaint than my house is gonna burn down.
Yeah.
Complaints that are smoke.
Yeah.
People can't even know what they're doing, but I don't know if there's a possibility of,
We got no complaints about this, right?
We had no complaints in some time. The only thing when it comes to fires that we do enforce is bonfire on the beach. And that's cut and dry. If bonfire on the beach, you get a ticket unless you have a special permit. We do write those.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to put an ordinance in place that we can't enforce. The reality of the situation is you can't have a wood burning fire pit without smoke. So if you want to ban smoke, you got to ban fire pits. And I don't think we're there yet as far as banning that. Nobody's recommending that, by the way.
No, I mean, we haven't, there's not an abundance of complaints, but the couple that I've had about smoke.
Yes. So, in my view, the number one thing we have to protect against is an unsafe situation that runs the risk of a fire event. Beyond that, we have to consider what else we want to encompass in this. And I think saying, you can complain about smoke is a slippery slope.
well, there should be some reaction. Somebody, the police or the fire go there, and obviously the smokers, can they say, you have to put the fire out, or is it?
Yeah, well, I think that's all stuff that we want Tom and Richard to consider in this ordinance.
How does that relate? We have a nuisance ordinance, right, not a noise ordinance.
Correct.
Or maybe nuisance needs to be looked at in conjunction with smoke, it might be nuisance.
Well, you have a general nuisance code too, in addition to the nuisance code that deals with noise. And I don't recall if it covers smoke. I don't think it does, but I don't recall specifically.
Or we could just say we're regulating for fire safety,
Right.
not necessarily for smoke.
Yeah. I guess one of the main issues, and the chief pointed this out, is he doesn't have any guidance right now in an ordinance to tell him what to do and what he's authorized to do if somebody has a fire pit that's too close or out of control. And the desire here is to put something in place so they have the mechanism by addressing it effectively.
Well, I do think we should address in some way the smoke, because properties are so close together, and such things different in other areas where some of these properties.
Yeah, I think Tom would be the expert to help us figure that out, and not being presumptuous, but I think trying to control smoke is going to be difficult.
Could we do something that the police would have the authority to say, you have to put the fire out, if it's too windy or whatever?
In the case of excess smoke or something.
So what we actually can do, if we see a fire pit that is that much out of control, call the fire department, they can put it out. And if these people act in such a way that they're not compliant, we can literally write them for disorderly conduct, which is creating a hazardous condition, which serves no legit. We can hit them for that. So we actually do have a tool, we can do it.
Yeah.
But having the actual one for the ordinance that you guys probably we do have a tool for creating a hazardous condition. We can use stuff like that before.
I would think if we showed up and said, hey, so, look, it's unreasonable, but most homeowners would say,
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on our list is number 6, use of river dredge sand.
You know, Congressman Pallone had a press release, they're going to start dredging the Shrewsbury River. And there's been a request or a question of could we use some of that sand on our beaches to enhance our beaches. A couple of you emailed or texted me, and I texted back, only that the river sand is different than the ocean sand. When they did it in Monmouth Beach, it came out as more of a sludge-like product, darker, and had some smell to it. That was 8 years ago or so, and there were a lot of complaints. Eventually bleached out, eventually no more smell. Smell kind of dissipated in a while once it hit the air, but if we want to request the sand, we have to know that it may not be like all the other sand. So that's up to
one person
up to you.
reached out to me, I let him know that he hasn't pursued it anymore. Your thoughts from the beach perspective?
I say take anything we got, anything we can get. Because, I know it's not gonna be clean, it's gonna smell, it's gonna be bad, but we need some. I think that's it.
We work out a location, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be right on.
I don't know how much sand we would get. But
I don't either, haven't looked into that aspect of it.
Well, I mean, I think this is being triggered by a particular resident, rightly so, asking is there anything we can do. First thing, in my opinion, is I don't think the Army Corps of Engineers is offering anything. And if you want something different than what they have planned, you're going to pay for it. Usually. I don't know if they're dumping it out in the middle of the ocean or what they're doing with it. But first thing is it even a viable option? If the answer is no, there's no discussion. If the answer is yes, but it's going to cost you $250,000 for us to reprogram where we put our dredge out of the river, that's something we would have to decide upon. I agree with Sam, we desperately need anything we can get, but one resident asking this, we got to watch what we ask for. Because you could wind up having 400 residents so aggravated by the smell that they now smell that they didn't smell before and wanting to know how that happened. So in my opinion, the first place I would start, Joe, is it even a viable question? If we wanted to get sand, could we? If the answer is yes, how much will it cost us? And then from there make a determination, other than us speculating.
I think it's a couple years out, but so it's not imminent.
Yeah.
But I could get to the right people to ask the questions. Like, is it available to place on beaches? Monmouth Beach had it. They actually went through their storm sewer system with a pipe.
I remember that.
And it came out onto their beach. So you know, it wasn't big pipes coming across the town. It went through their storm sewers.
Joe, as far as you know right now, and I know we can't predict the future clearly, my estimation is we're due for our next replenishment probably 3 to 4 years from now. Do you know anything different than that?
No, other than they did acknowledge early on that we would be part of it, and then they said they didn't have all the funding. So it seems like we're next, whatever next is. I'm reluctant to call them. We haven't paid them yet for this sand. So that's what we're doing with the grant request.
Well, we're close now, right? We're going to get county funding
Yes.
to us. But we do want to be a squeaky wheel, right? And as soon as we're clear of owing them money,
exactly,
anything we can do to remind them that they committed to us and then bypassed us, in parallel to possibly looking at this.
I have a good relationship with the staff over at Coastal Engineering, and they know we want it.
And how many other of us have been bypassed? You've been bypassed on the beach, Long Branch, or there others who are screaming just as loud as we are, right on the river, that were this river.
Well, the bypass that I think you're referring to, we were the one that was dropped. Monmouth Beach may have been dropped also.
Of the regular dredge.
Yeah, regular.
Of the replenishment.
Yes.
Yes, but towns south of that.
Borough, I know, is getting sand. I'm not quite sure if anybody north of Borough is, but they were deemed to be critical. I don't know how it differs from the wave washing up the trade winds or anything, but Borough was in bad shape.
Is it your view, Joe, that the worst spot is in front of Seabright Village?
I'm not quite familiar with a lot of North Beach areas, but is it? But yes.
It's some days it pounded into the dune. So it's the whole level has dropped down.
Yeah.
And they were doing some surveying a month ago or so. They had the guys out in the gals out in the water, you know, with the survey. I don't know if that's from Stockton or if it was from the state.
So Joe, you'll find out whether or not it's viable for us to even get river dredge.
And then
if so, what would that entail?
How much?
And discuss it.
What's it look like? But I think we know it's not the same. It's a different product. It ends up being the same, there's no doubt about it, but it takes a while.
So then we can make an informed decision.
And timing might be, if they say that, you know, we're going to do it in February, maybe then, you know, it's a different decision than if they want to do it in April.
And if there's anything else they can do, they know it's not. basically say, can they listen to cost issues? Is there something that can be done when at Mom Beach and Seabright are in a really tricky spot and just sit and wait?
I'll contact the Cologne office and they'll give us a contact.
It's not just innovative for them to be there.
Is that under the grant? Like, you know how we're getting grant money from the federal project? But
I don't know where the funding source, but it probably is Army Corps.
Oh, this dredge thing?
Yeah.
That's federal funds.
Army Corps.
$21 million
They
federal
should be able
funds.
to put it
No, they have every bit of that pre-programmed. It takes the Army Corps of Engineers years to lay something like this out. And every bit of where that stuff is going has been pre-decided.
Okay, there was an article that the resident referenced that it's targeted to Mount Beach, that's it.
Oh, okay.
same time.
So the question was, could we get in?
Yeah.
And Monmouth Beach probably because they had the infrastructure already in place.
Because otherwise it's very expensive. You got boys that are around.
Yeah, his idea was, can you leak a little along the way?
Like the garbage truck.
Yeah.
Put in that truck.
Yeah, have Roselli do.
That's very good. We'll be on that, it's good.
I'll get some more information.
Joe's got the action.
We have a library fundraiser.
Well, the library it does their usual fundraiser, and we need. I don't know when they do it. They usually do it early in the fall.
They have a date, I think it was October 29th or something. His Liz called me yesterday, asking me why it's on the agenda. I'm not
I don't know why it's.
I put it on the agenda because Mike and I had a discussion about the library doing concerts, and it got carried away. And how do we need to do it when they raise money and put it in? We need to do it by resolution. We need a resolution in place where all the funds go, where all the funds are going, and who's controlling the funds. So that's what he told me. So I asked Chris to put it on there. I don't know too much about it, but we need to know a little more about it so I can get a resolution in place.
Yeah, they believe they're independent of us and do their own thing. That's at least what she told me last night. So let's make sure we clarify, because they're planning.
Well, there's two things. There's what's Liz's fund called?
She has a fund that is more private than anything.
Right.
And then we have the trust fund that's a
Right.
public fund, that's ours.
So if she
Ours.
does the
So
library fundraiser under her trust.
I don't know the answer to that.
But if the money comes into the
If we get,
ARP money, then, you know.
Right.
yeah, if they say, write a check to Seabright Library and it goes to Trish, we have to do something. If there's no checks coming to us, I don't think we do.
I don't think they understand that.
Right. Did the check
I
come to us?
didn't understand it.
Did the check come to us last year? From the fundraiser?
Yes.
Yes.
I know Jane probably,
Okay.
Yes.
I have.
Cash.
They also need a raffle license.
Yes.
So that's the only reason I put it on there, just
Just for.
clarification. And I just got clarification from Mike. I didn't.
Okay, so who do we need to talk to? Is it Liz or?
And Jane, it's Jane. Jane runs the fund. They need to agree who's handling it. Is it Liz's fund running the fundraiser, or is it?
The library trust fund or something.
Right.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, ready to use bathrooms.
Just put it on there as an update. We've been getting some complaints about the bathrooms in this building, open to the public and the beach. I think it's a product of a couple things that we're going to clean up. One, we only have one attendant. It's a man, and he has limited capabilities to speak to the public. He goes in and can't really communicate with the female, the ladies' bathroom, the woman's bathroom, and there's some conflict there. And when we have a full day, it's tough to tell people to wait for 20 minutes or a half hour to go to the bathroom. So without the communication skills, it's a little difficult. Dave and Rob are going to look to change the contract to make sure we have a female attendant.
Does that mean both, male and female?
Probably. And you probably do need both. This one guy does every bathroom. Anchorage, our bathrooms, our building, this building, it's a nightmare for one person to do that, especially when you've seen it, the crowds on the beach. You come out of the bathroom and it's a half hour later, it's a mess. In conjunction with that, we found out the locks weren't working. So the two bathrooms here that are normally controlled electronically, they were left open all night for a couple of weeks until we found out about it. The police didn't know they weren't locking. So, when he gets here, it's a mess to begin with.
Do we do this seasonally?
Pretty much year round, pretty much.
So would you propose having both people year round?
No, I don't think we need both people year round, but during the summer months, I think you need a female or woman attendant.
Because
then they can clean the bathroom when people are in there, technically.
Yeah, I mean, we need service year-round at a reduced level. It peaks in the summer. You're saying we have a language barrier problem or whatever,
I don't know if we can help that as much, but that was part of the problem. That you can say, hey, ladies, can you give me 15 minutes to restock the bathroom?
And would this be covered by beach income?
I think a portion of it is from beach income. Not its entirety, but yes. Because they do our building, they do.
I'm talking about the seasonal addition.
Yes, it would.
When you have the porta john, is this same photo that you come in?
No. That's a company that comes in. So it was a combination of things. I think we were low on supplies too at one point, but we caught up with that.
Okay. What is the additional person cost there for the season?
I gotta go over the numbers.
Do you know what the existing person costs?
The whole contract,
It's like
46,000
For the one person that maintains all the bathrooms?
for the whole
Works 7
full
days
year
a
round. Yep.
And out.
So hypothetically, if it's seasonal for the addition of the second person, I'm just making it up, we're talking about $20,000 delta.
Max. It's probably a 10%.
We gotta do it.
Yeah. But when we ordered this contract for this lowest bidder, and it was quite a bit below the next lowest bidder. So I think we're going to.
But that's going to be an annual thing anyway.
Is it a one-year contract?
It's always it
It was
is.
a 3-year contract. This is the final year. It's up
Final
to
year.
And there was a year option extension on that.
Right. I wouldn't recommend that at this point.
Oh, you wouldn't recommend it?
I'm sorry. I'd rather pay the extra money. I don't think the service is adequate. To be perfectly candid with you, I get complaints over Borough Hall. I got complaints from the public.
So your recommendation is don't take the option for an additional year, put it out for rebid, get a better quality vendor, and increase the level of service during the summer.
Correct. I think it's worth the money.
Is there anything we could do for the rest of the year?
Last weekend, Public Works came and supplemented the guy, and Don tells me that he got no complaints after Public Works came and backed him up, so to speak. So I think we can do that with one of our part-timers for the balance of the season.
Yes, we plan on doing.
Yeah, it's almost over.
Yeah, they came and helped, and then in January, I would recommend going out. Chris is right, but this is kind of like a quality. This is our calling card.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not where
We don't want to make it very difficult to find the bathroom.
Right.
Is this the vendor,
Also help.
is the vendor the same as the person?
Yeah.
The official vendor is the same as the actual person who's doing the work?
Oh no. No, the guy that does work. I mean, I feel sorry.
I can start.
Yeah. Anchorage bathrooms, these bathrooms, the municipal building, this whole building. The lifeguards, they cleaned it up for us a little bit, but this is tough room too in the weekend.
But they only assign this one person to do the whole thing?
Yeah, and he's 7 days a week.
Which was we tried to talk to the vendor when he came out, when we had a meeting with him, about sending somebody else. We made the recommendation to have another person, because even after he walked around with us, he said, this is a lot. And I said, yeah, it's too much for one person to try and take care of, especially on a busy beach day. But I guess he that fell on deaf ears, but.
And they're all, yesterday the parking lot was filled yesterday. It was a beautiful day. You know, it's a Wednesday. It's not just Saturdays and Sundays anymore.
Plus, I think he has to walk down Anchorage because everything is so crowded with the parking and traffic, right? Is that right?
I think your proposed course of action with Samson Current sounds right.
That was all in bathrooms.
So one of those three is the EMS lease agreement.
We did it annually, right, Chris?
Yes.
We probably, I don't know why we have
I
to
think
do
we
it every
should do
year.
it for multi-year, I mean, some. And now we also insure all their equipment, not just the 2 cars. So we have to add that to the agreement.
We do insure all their equipment, and they do a great job. They've really stepped up. But our contribution to them used to be for insurance, and now we do the insurance. But they do, not the whole contribution is for insurance. They do buy all their supplies and things like that out of there, and we all know everything went up. But just a point of information.
It seemed pretty standard. I read through it. Is there anything you're concerned in there, Joe?
No.
So basically, you make it multi-year.
Can we go something like that? More than one? Or?
This is a lease with a 501c3. And leases under the local, the lands and buildings law, and this is lands and buildings, but yeah, you can have a lease with a nonprofit. I think it's up to 30 years.
I don't know if we should do it 30 years. Would you check on that, and maybe we go multi-year or 3-year?
Let's walk.
Yeah. But check on it for us, Richard. Sure.
Okay, the next item is the punch list, project punch list, and then John.
Yeah, I don't know if you all recall, we met with Frank Lawrence a while back, I think before your time. And he created a shared drive that had a list of things that need to be at least reviewed and decided upon whether we move forward. We haven't looked at the list, and it's really hard to get anything moving, and we tend to move from hot item to hot item as opposed to say, we got 3 things here that really need to be attended to. It's something as simple as street lights. It's almost impossible to get the last lights repaired. So I had the chiefs refax in a new list of the old lights that weren't repaired. That's what JCP&L asked for. Dealing with Public Utility Commission. Today he asked me, can I reopen new tickets on my own because they don't get a ticket number. When they fax it in, which is the preferred way to report it, they get no ticket number, there's no commitment to respond or say we took care of 3 of them or anything. I don't believe it will be, but those things start to fall through the cracks. We started reporting these lights in January. We're now in the middle of August, and we still can't get a response. And if we go down to DOT check valves, I know we bring it up, but we're really not focused on it. And my thought was originally, we have a list of things that just come up, right? Whether it's wires or whatever it is. We should be looking at it, in my opinion, and try to pick off a couple at each workshop.
We have it set up, John. You're right. I have it on my desk, which means nothing other than it's in that pile on my desk. It is set up with a lot of our tasks, the projects, and where they go. But John's correct. I don't know how to better monitor it because everybody on it says who's responsible for it, who, you know, what department, those kind of things, and where it stands. And we have to get every department to buy into going on that shared drive and taking a look at it once a month or something like that and put a comment in it. No movement, you know, no movement. We have, Dave just recently reached out to the DOT. On it was the storm drains on Ocean Avenue. They're DOT storm drains. We should have them done before the storm season. So Dave reached out. It's on the list, but if I don't pull that list out or something, it's not, I mean, it is a priority, but not one that you think about every week and what's going on.
Well, it's a mandatory requirement. We do all of ours.
Well, I know, but the state doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's like do as I say, not as I do.
Right. So it's on, that's just one item that's on the list, like bug DOT to,
Well, we can't do it right now because of the traffic. They want to wait till the fall. That's the answer I have to that.
But then if we don't remember it.
Yeah, it's next year. Right, so when I look at the storm sewers, there's 3 of them that are filled with trash. If we ever have a significant storm, they're not gonna provide any remediation.
I think that's what you're talking about. Those kind of things, where are we with it?
Yeah, how do we keep focus on it? I know they have their to-dos, right, each department, but we should be making sure that the high priority items are being looked at and at least have a.
Maybe I can pass out our current list, what's on the shared drive, and you folks can take a look at it.
I feel like it needs a little more formalization than that, to be honest with you. In my view, having a prioritized set of projects or actions is a really good thing to do. It's all in the follow-through, right? So whoever's responsible for that list, whether it's you or John, because a lot of them are DPW, I think it would be great at one of our workshops if we rolled up our sleeves for half an hour, went through and said, do we agree on these top? We have 300 things, but these top 10 are the critical ones. I'm just making the numbers up, Joe. We agree on that, we debate it, we move them around, and we get the top 10. And then we assign somebody to them. And at every one of the workshops, we go through those 10, and the person assigned to it is responsible for giving a quick update on what's happening on those priorities. And we just build it into our workshop. If they're important, we got to focus on them, and then we'll report on them. If we have problems, we need help, we'll look into that. But we got to put some structure around it. Otherwise, I feel like, and I'm not trying to criticize, it's a list we look at, yeah, that's a nice list, but nothing ever happens.
It's true.
So I would suggest, and I'd be willing to do it, if somebody else doesn't want to, take that list, get it in front of the council with the help of our professionals, make a decision on the priority, assign responsible people, and every workshop we spend 15 minutes giving updates on those top 10.
Well, I have it. I can.
It needs a
I
leader.
think what we could also do on that list is everyone's contacting whomever they need to contact, right? It's because they're not getting back to us. Then we need like next chain, next level. So emails that Dave sends out or calls that doesn't get responded in an adequate amount of time. Then it goes to John, it goes to the head person at the DOT, whoever we need to just kind of like let the next step in the chain of command.
We need a hierarchy.
It needs an escalation sort of point person. So I think whatever that spreadsheet is, we also need who additional members are that need to be escalated to in order to just get it done. We'll just need to see it real, just need right.
It needs a lead to pull it all together, and then it needs responsible people for each one of the items. And if they have to talk to 12 people, that's their responsibility to do that. But unless you status it and report on it and track it, it's not gonna happen.
Can we put that on for the next workshop?
Well, do we have a volunteer to lead it?
Oh, leave it. I mean, I have a regular list. I share it with Jack.
John did most of it.
It's
Frank put it on Frank put it on a listserv of the department heads. We know we have it prioritized, and maybe there's too many on it.
Well, there's definitely too many. So that was the intent of take a look at it. That's what we had agreed to a year and a half ago, and see what ones were important to you.
Yeah, quarterly you can update it. Right? I mean, every time you're.
You can always move stuff around, but there should be ones that jump off the page.
There's too many of them, nothing's getting done.
Yeah, if you try to boil the ocean, forget it. You got to pick the top 10 or 12 items.
The intent was for the council to decide what are the top 10, not for me to decide that. I know I have top 10. Those are the ones I'm working on.
Yeah. Like Jack just said, maybe on the next workshop, we can have that list distributed to us.
Yeah.
We can look at it and roll up our sleeves and spend 15, 20 minutes developing a priority list. Yeah.
We'll get it to you before that.
Yeah.
So you can come.
I think we could get it out today.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, John, frustration factor here is
Well, the hard one is what hit us is I'm dealing with above the second level, and the result is still
That's
silence. It's
unacceptable.
haven't figured out what's the code. I did just run into somebody, an old friend from 50 years ago. His son works for PD6, so I'm going to try to go in that door and see, can he figure out the code? Because we haven't figured out how to get it done. And so they get frustrated. Dave sends the email, hey, here's what we're looking for. They give you that candy coded, yeah, we're taking care of it, and then if you don't check it, didn't happen. They're all busy, especially all that kind of stuff. We got storms, we got accidents, all that.
We have a new contact at DOT, Brett,
For the maintenance, yeah.
and that's a big thing, because for a while, we didn't have anybody.
This was the crew that would just come out and do the storm drains at 2 o'clock. That's a new crew that came out. We have 2 new contacts. Ron Roberts is gone. We have Ron Rosado and another crew up in Haslam.
Well, maybe if it's a new crew, you say, hey, here are all of the unresolved issues we have, they are piling.
Can you take a look?
We can go over with lunch with them or something.
Welcome, that's nice.
Take a move.
Next item is, mural, the recreation center.
Yes, so the next 2 kind of, they go hand in hand. So we thank Councilman Lamia for getting the building painted. It's fantastic. And now what we want to do is put a mural on wrap around kind of the community center. I think we have funding secured from Bascom, but I asked if we could look at the Sandy Quest line item, that grant that we have. I've also talked to Tara Almanchenko, who's got the gallery, Almanchenko Gallery. She's volunteered to help kind of spearhead it. I'm going to write a request for proposal. Tara's going to reach out to various local artists and other artists that she knows to kind of get proposals in for a mural. They'll be given a certain budget. We can come up with some sort of artistic vision, and then they will create their recommendations. And what we hope to do is on the next bullet point, the community center ribbon cutting day, we'd like to have whoever wants to submit a proposal, have those proposals up and have the community vote on what they think would be the right sort of mural to put on the community center. So get everyone involved, just bring more energy, artistic energy into the town.
What wall would you want to do it?
Possibly, and this is, the best wall to do it is a north-facing wall, which faces a lot. But what Tara is thinking is also you could do the mural on the boards, and then during a certain time of the year, you can bring the boards inside so they would last from a longevity sort of standpoint. But again, we'll take different proposals. It could also be a full wrap around the building as well. It could be multiple sort of options.
I just had to question your decision on that. In our
We put
budget,
it out in the beginning, and then we said, let's just get pink.
Let's get it painted. We knew it would just delay the
As a matter of fact,
painting.
there's a couple areas where the gas company changed their gas meter. They cut the bushes back, so there's some white back there. There's some spots, but there are 3 5-gallon buckets in the inside the building.
in our budget for this, what do you
Tell
think?
me. Well, I think 15,000 is enough for, time, materials, all in everything.
And you and I spoke, it doesn't have to be a painting, it could
It
be.
doesn't, it could be a statue, it could be some other interpretation of something. But it would be nice, the community center is a building that's supposed to be for the youth. I think we need to kind of make it feel as if it exemplifies that and it delivers on that promise.
You see this as an external,
Yes, the external facing.
and with the possibility it could be, without too much difficulty, or interior, if something came up, that's the one with.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea. I think every time I come into town and I see the mural on a postcard,
Yeah.
it makes me proud to live in this town. So I think it's a really good idea. The problem with that building is too broken up with windows to have a nice clear spot. My natural inclination would be on the south side, not on the north, because the north side has air conditioners, condensers, and everything sitting out there, and it's a bit broken up. But I'm in favor of it, and I think if you can get community involvement and actually pick something, it makes it even better.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'd like to see a permanent one, not the remote one.
Yeah.
Just the one, like the secret one is awesome.
Would you thought about just doing, like,
The ramp?
Lucky Dog?
No.
has just,
Yeah.
it has this big white foundation all the way around, maybe just in that section.
Yeah. I think we go to the artists to kind of, but if we give them a budget, and that's where I just want to make sure we have the funding.
I know when we were looking at artists, when we said Matt Hack, we were gonna put them there, and
Yeah.
people were gonna do it for free. They were just wanting to paint on it, so.
Well, that's gonna go again. But yeah, that was an amazing wall. That would be incredible.
Yeah,
Just
and
bring
they-
more energy into town and it just keeps it kind of fun.
And we talked to, they just put up a piece of art, if you want to call it, right near Ursula Plaza. There's a little park right before you get there from here. They put up a metal kind of beach scene. Looks nice. I mean, I'm not a artsy person, but it looks nice. And so maybe something along those lines on the side of the wall too, or whatever the artist comes up with.
We've got very talented people around here, so it'd be nice to see what can come back. So.
Good.
Great. And then that connects, I already mentioned it in explaining, the community center ribbon cutting. So what we'd love to do, right now the date is tentatively October 7th. We picked that date because the rec center is located where it is. It's also right next to Donovan's. That is a holiday weekend. Donovan's doesn't have any music going on that day. So we figured from a just access standpoint, it might be kind of a quieter time where we wanted to open up officially the community center, have families come in. Would definitely be focused on having everyone come to the center, cut a ribbon, let them in, have them walk around, see the gym space, introduce them hopefully to not hopefully, we'll be on the Edmonds platform where people can go on and they can start reserving, gather people's information so they can start putting in their profiles so they can begin using the gym the way we looked at how it being used, and using the space, potentially renting out the space for birthday parties, just building out the programming. And then so you have the gym area, which would house multiple activities, a lot of the library activities like yoga and Zumba is in there. So again, having that space kind of booked up. But then also where the old council chambers are, we really want to turn that into a game room. So we've had donations go out. We just picked up a what's that, air hockey table. We've got the pool table in there. We've got donations of TVs. We want to create more of a space for these kids, the youth, to really enjoy the space and think of it as kind of like a third home for them. So we have time from now until October to really get that space ready. We know there are like the homeowners association and seniors who do use that room. We're not looking to kick anyone out, but we also need to make sure that that space feels that it's primarily for the youth and not that the teens can come in there and feel like they're sitting at a business table. So one question I do have is I know the seniors prefer to be in that building at the time. It actually may be easier from an accessibility standpoint to come back into this building. So if they choose to decide in the future that they'd like to have their meetings in here, is that okay in the future?
Yep. I don't think we had anybody propose that we use this.
Just a question. First of all, I think it's a great idea to use the room the way you're proposing. And if we could get the seniors to move here. Now, they meet on Wednesdays, as John knows, he goes to that group. But what do we do with the lifeguards on those Wednesdays?
Yeah, they do the bingo.
In the summer, we could be, move it around or have them go in the library.
I don't think they take change too easily.
I know, that's true. Or multiple movement. Can they all fit in the back room?
No.
Conference?
Yeah, they're a little bigger now.
I mean, if you tell them you can use this except in the summer, they'll say, thank you, we'll stay where we are.
Okay.
And I know because I've explored this with my mother-in-law.
We did that originally when we opened this.
Well, they came in here and for some reason.
They thought it was noisy
Right.
and, all
Yeah.
kinds of.
So they prefer where they are now, so I'm saying if they prefer and they want to stay where they are, that's fine. We will work around that. We're not going to move the seniors anywhere.
Okay.
From a homeowners association standpoint, can they come in here and have our meetings here? So the only group who really need to work around are the seniors?
They could, we just never did it because they're like private organizations. And when we were doing the fee schedule, those kind of things where they had to pay.
I'll give you my opinion, because I have had HOA meetings in there and I've dealt with the seniors. If you're gonna keep it set up for the seniors to use, keep the HOAs there. Don't have them use this. Because with this comes liability, we are concerned about other things happening. If you're gonna have it set up for the seniors, John, you know better than me. Maybe 2 or 3 HOA meetings a year.
Oh, okay, that's all.
Yeah, I know you,
There's not many that I'm aware of.
All right.
I wouldn't bother to try to drive the HOAs here if you're gonna keep the seniors there.
Okay,
The
that's fine.
item was though that the room will get, we're using the furniture that was left behind.
Right.
So it's not conducive to a larger meeting, right? And it's actually, I can't believe that the seniors don't ask for something because most of them are wheeling in, right? And there's not a lot of space to get in and out and all that with that furniture. So we talked about other options of, we had looked at the furniture and it was arranged differently or a different kind of furniture. I don't know. Would it be more accessible to different groups? Because right now we have 2 pieces of equipment in there. We actually had a foosball, but I got rid of it because we were not ready to store it anymore.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Jack and I spent time with seniors in that room.
Yeah.
And I moved their coffee pot 5 feet.
No, it's not.
And that was a problem.
Unacceptable. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They gave me heck because the TV is where they put the donuts.
Yeah, again, it's consistency, it's comfortable, they know where everything is.
And they know what donut everybody likes, so. Also, maybe the Historical Society will be ready, they're getting ready.
Yeah, they are, they're gonna have, I think they're gonna be having an opening in September. They're gonna do the day after the car show, because they don't wanna have to do that, that's like a private for people who have supported and donated, and then a public showing the following weekend, I believe.
It would have been nice to coordinate both of them.
They're different. So you're gonna have different audiences for different pieces. So from the ribbon cutting standpoint, again, it's gonna be probably 1 to, a certain period of time where we just have families kind of come in, take a look at the center, we'll have music, we'll have more like background music. We're looking to pull together and have some food available, potentially some food donated by local businesses, but just to let people know we're here, this is how you can take advantage of it, this is how you sign up for it, these are all the programs that we have to start with, we want to do more, here's your space and a room for the kids to kind of enjoy. Hopefully we might even be able to get the bus to stop there on the way home in the school year so they can kind of come out and just like hang at the community center. So that's what we're looking to do. So we didn't want to do anything in the summer. The summer is beach time, it's fun time. October, the school year started. People are starting to get into a habit of things. And so we just wanted to let the families of Seabright know that this is available to them.
So are you thinking of just leaving it open and letting kids come and go?
Well, we wanted to talk about locks for the building. As we do need a few enhancements to get there. Ceiling in the community center and game room particularly, there's just some questions about what's going on there. We need to figure out the best way to let the kids in with a lock system. I think we do. There was some locks that were bought for the bathrooms that were.
Yeah, I don't know if we recall that, but we bought a elaborate lock system for the bathrooms and then we did away with them. We know we have them.
I thought we figured out how to use them, the locks at Anchorage.
Remember we're
Oh, yeah, that's a different system, yeah. It's set up, right?
Yeah, as far as I know.
They're automatic right now, they're not asks anymore.
No.
They figured out how to do it. We didn't get rid of them. But I mean, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If it's a cost of doing business, if you want to do it that way. I mean, in addition to that, we're going to probably need some cameras over there if we're going to just.
One of the issues we're having with the rec center is we'll get a phone call, can you please open the rec center for pickleball? Well, no, we can't, we're on an accident by saying, no, we'll be there in a half an hour, 45 minutes, you're gonna have to wait. That's just it, we'll go and get there when we get there, and they know we just can't get there sometimes.
Yeah.
We're just not, they're waiting outside, so that's the biggest issue that we're having is we're always in and out, and sometimes they leave it open, we'll come at night time, the door will be popped open, no one will be in there, anybody can walk in and out.
Right.
So that's some of the issues that we're really having with that, is we have no problem going, we'll unlock every time we do it, but sometimes they're not securing the building back up after they leave.
There are unreasonable locks at Depot or Lowe's that, you know, you can program, or you can open them from a PC or whatever, no one has to go over. But the whole thing becomes logistics, so now the door's open, like, you know, typically when the seniors leave, they lock the door, but then I go back over there to make sure they don't leave, you know, mess or something undone, right?
You know, it's gonna be tough to manage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a part-time person or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lock system would be best, I guess, but just leaving it open, I don't know about that either.
It's not legal. That's not what we're.
Let me look at the lock thing I was looking at, that it would accommodate that door, because that door has the push bar, that would stay. So that's never impeded, but the cylinder can be replaced with one that has Wi-Fi capability. We have internet there, and then you can program it to say open it, pickleball is 6 to 8. It opens and it locks.
I think I'm good at
Yeah,
what,
Yeah.
person, like
They're all concerned.
yeah, hey, I'm glad to even keep.
No, it wouldn't be, yeah.
Shut her off.
So there's that, and I think, so this year we look at it as a community center sort of ribbon cutting. I think we could also look at the future year, 2024, as more of a community day. So make it larger, you know, do more of an activity for fall, especially when, you know, it's kind of local summer again, kind of celebrating people got together. So I think that's kind of the opportunity. This year we'll focus on the community center opening up. Next year it could be looked at in a different way. But also for that time period that the ribbon cutting in October, it also would be nice to look at just new trash cans for the town, like a community day. Like trash cans we currently have are pretty, like they look well used. And let the summer come through, let them finish off. But we do have the Clean Communities Program grant that we have, where there's some remaining dollars there that you can get. It's really lovely. September, October, that we just kind of refresh the town and give it a new face once all of the damage is done from, you know, being a tourist destination in the summer. It's really kind of start the fall with that. Here's the community, here's who you live here, it's our year, it's about time.
And I think, well, Joe and I talked about another subject, we ought to look at resin type fixtures than the metal ones. The metal ones are just not.
Or stone. I mean, I actually saw something on Facebook the other day. They were as big as this table, about that high. And it was just slabs of stone. Come and get them. There were 200 of them. It's like, you put that on the wall, it's not going anywhere, right? You easily sit on it, and there's no maintenance. But there's options, right? Resin is one, but resin eventually gets beat up by the sun.
True.
You try a couple different things. Right now, I did one over by Donovan's.
Okay.
It took 3 days to get it all disassembled, stripped. I sandblasted it, coated it. Me and Joe looked at it the other day, it's still holding up, but that was a huge undertaking, and we have like, I don't know, 45 benches. The manufacturer did not recommend that bench for the ocean, something like that. They said they use resin or cement.
But I don't think we can last much longer with the yeah, it's really coming out. Yeah, all that from the corner of the street, the recycle and the trash cans, those combos. I mean, they're just, yeah. So let them get beaten by the rest of the summer, and then really a nice space, fresh goods forward. It seems like it's fun.
Well, let's figure out inventory, how many we need.
All of them.
No, I know, how many is that?
Hey, Frank bought them, so he has a list. You don't have to go
To the
count.
left. To the left. Come out of the closet.
The last thing on this, school crossing guards,
We don't have
Yeah, we didn't really have a need for them because we're coming on the same side of the street now, so if we have to put more in, or something changes, we'll just appoint 2 parking guards and have them take the course of the GIF again. Right?
Are we okay with not having any?
Well, you know what, they're all coming on the same side of the street now. Pretty much.
I mean, it's the downtown kids.
Yeah.
There are 2 kids, I don't know if there are more, that are gonna be coming. One takes the bus home every day, the other one usually goes to after-school program care. I did, it was always funny when I was out there at the crossing guards, the same exact time that the DPW guys are off from, you guys clock out, and you're all wearing the same guard uniform. And I was like, oh, if someone ever wanted to get an extra half hour and let you cross the kids, just from a timing standpoint, it kind of is just an interesting,
Yeah, I haven't had any parents at all approach me about crossing guards. They're pretty happy with the way they're going. If they want to approach me, if they think there's a need for them.
I mean, I can tell you one of the parents is gonna be like, no, my kid will just sit on the bus and we'll just come home when it comes home. So they're very like, it's okay, don't worry about it. So, but that was my only thought. Just from a timing standpoint, there's kind of super close to being locked down. That sort of time. The bus comes around, sorry, just noticed it.
Comes at what time? 3:15 or so?
No, more like 3:45.
Your point, Chief, is that the bus now drops everybody off on
Well, some of the biggest complaints were that they were all the way up to the hook, turning around and coming all the way back. So we've got them about 2 years ago, just to drop them off right, instead of taking the body all the way down now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they happily drop kids off on, if you're coming home, it's the coming home from school issue, right? So if you're dropping the kids off on the east side, some of the kids have to walk across the street to the west side. So apparently that's okay south of downtown, but once you come downtown, apparently kids aren't allowed to walk across the street. So that's where we, it's only in the downtown area where the crossing guard crosses across the street, which I don't know why. Otherwise, if there's not a crossing guard, you gotta go all the way to the same turn around and then come back down and drop them off on the west side.
That's a lot for,
It really becomes a lot once you hit like April, May, the bridge goes up and the lights hit and then you can see the very easily in there. Yeah. And there was a bus shortage, driver shortage last year, so Seabright Bus has some support on it, which takes some of the route, just takes longer.
all right, let me talk to Public Works and see what, and please.
You take the first, take the first month and see how it works, and parents may feel like we're fine, and, occasionally.
the bus instead of going all the way to Sandy Hook, we make a loop downtown.
It does that if there isn't someone who lives north. If there is a north kids on the bus, then they do have to do the whole loop. But if there's not, they will. They'll turn around in the beach parking lot.
Hey, Jack, I have one other thing I said real quick to insert, if you don't mind. I sent the council members an email on an update of what's happening with the pavilion at Anchorage Park. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. But we briefed what the thought was around this. We got support of the council probably about a month and a half ago. And since then, we've had 2 activities ongoing. One was to try to identify potential vendors for the pavilion itself, and the other was to get a quote from Colliers Engineering regarding the update for the pavilion design. And that update really required to address 2 things: the modification to the pavilion and any CAFA permit issues that come as a result of it. They're relatively minor, but since I last saw you, we've been waiting on a quote from Colliers Engineering. It took a long time, and when it came in, it was quite high. So it took us a while, Frank and I, to get back to what I think is a reasonable position. I summarized this in the email. But we now have it to a point that we think it's reasonable, it's ready to go. I'll remind you that our vision of what this thing is going to look like is something like that. I had briefed that in the group before. The kind of structure that it would be constructed out of is something like that,
Right.
which interestingly enough looks very much like Old Casara train station. It used to be in town in the Anchorage area. So there's a lot of good news here. The good news is the engineering quote is affordable at this point in time. We have some money left over from the original ordinance that was put in place. Joe and I talked about this. There's a couple thousand more that's going to be needed So I think financially, from an engineering perspective, we're ready to go. And the other good news is that the contributions that we got from several people for the pavilion itself are above the initial preliminary quotes that we're getting from potential vendors. So, Joe, I don't believe we need a resolution or an ordinance or anything to do this. I just wanted to let the council know that we are pretty much ready to go. The next step would be to approve the Collier quote, which I have here, Joe, and if you sign off on it, I think we're ready to go. That would start any initial engineering modifications, the request for RFP, and any capital permit changes. All of that moving forward, the goal would be to have all of this kind of laid flat and start construction of this in the fall of this year, around the October, November time.
We just need a resolution. You have it on there? No.
What do we need a resolution for?
You're approving that?
Oh, to approve this?
Yeah, so we'll put it on next Tuesday.
Didn't we already approve that to do the engineering?
On the original
Change order?
pavilion.
Yeah, but they gave us, this is additional funding. It's that
Would it be
exceed.
a change order or would it be a?
It's a modification to the original engineering bid.
It's a change. So what, I'm sorry, I don't know what you did.
All right, we went out to bid. The bid came in too high.
Bid for an engineer?
No. The bid came in too high.
The bid to do what?
Renovations of the park.
Uh-huh.
So we are doing something different in the park.
Okay.
So we asked Colliers how much it would be in addition to do the changes for the pavilion, and then they have to do modification to the CAFA permit. So they came in and said it was going to be several thousand, $8,000 or whatever to do all those. So that's more than what their original quote was to do the engineering.
Their quote to do the engineering, so this is just for engineering services?
Correct.
Design services?
That's correct.
But Chris asked, we already appointed them to do it. Do we have to do a resolution? And I said, well, it's going to be more than what their first proposal was.
Right.
So I think we do have to do it.
No, I think you do have to do a resolution. I think
As a
just a
change
straight
order?
resolution. What?
As a change order?
No, it's not, I mean, it's not construction. It's just a straight resolution, for them to
Something
perform
that's
these.
been proposed.
Additional engineering services for the Trimberg.
Let me be very clear on what happened here. So the original engineering effort was to do three things: engineering and CAFA approval for the pavilion, an irrigation system for the park, and plans, engineering support to all that. All of that has kind of moved forward. The park is assumed existence. There's a couple of things left that need to be done. What we wanted to do is make a minor modification to the pavilion. So we briefed that to the council. You were probably in the room. We talked about all of this. We got concurrence from the council to do this. We then went out to engineering and said, give us a quote for the minor modification to the pavilion instead of X, it's going to be Y, and tell us whether or not any CAFA permit changes are required as a result of this change. Bill White went out and said, yes, we're only approved 400 feet. This thing can be 600 square feet. We need a CAFA modification. And I will do the engineering work to put you in a position to go out for competitive RFP and to submit the CAFA permit, and I will oversee all of that in the process. The quote came in to do that modification that I just described, and it was too high. I felt it was too high, and Frank agreed. So we put pressure on him. He reduced his quote to a point that is now reasonable and affordable. So we just want to move out with the engineering work to have that progress.
Increase.
Yeah, no, I think we just need a resolution to approve
Because
those.
we gave it anybody else, they'd have to start over.
There's the quote. So
Thank you.
we'll get it on as a resolution, and when the resolution is approved, we're good to go?
Yes,
Okay.
so that'll be done Tuesday night. I could be ready.
Unless anybody has any questions, I love it. I want to see that thing go in the fall. Thank you. Any, someone good? Jack, you good? Okay, thank you.
I have a pretty robust executive session, unfortunately.
Okay, well, the resolution.
It's going to be lunchtime.
I had a question on this. When they go for research on that fireworks, who gets the fish and wildlife permits? Do they get that, or is that our responsibility?
It's their responsibility, but we get the approvals come to us. We submit everything, really.
Okay. curious. Yeah, that was fun. I have a question, Dave. When they do the work on that pump station on River Street, will that interrupt the residents as far as the use of the water?
It's the trash rack thing.
No, you're gonna bypass it, right?
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, we're in the
So we don't have to notify residents when they come and go.
I just gotta let Two Rivers know that's what we're doing.
Yeah, okay.
Prior to the farm. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Any resolutions for, Scott Beach? Yeah.
No, Don and I, they handled it yesterday.
Council was good there, right?
You have one more.
Yeah. When's that?
I don't have a date yet.
As far as the farmer's market, everything worked out as far as you know?
Yeah, everything is working out. We need more signage in the front, so we can buy some state from Jen, who's from here. He's gonna do some state farmer signage to put out on Ocean Avenue. Just get more time.
Did you have a good turnout?
I mean, it was a weird day. It was storm in the morning, and then it was really strong winds coming through.
It wasn't a beach day.
It wasn't.
So that they kind of lost their clientele. It's one of the few days recently that it wasn't a beach day. But Chris bought pickles.
Yeah, I think we'll play around with it. I'll talk. If anyone hears any feedback on it, positive, negative, like, let me know. 'Cause I just want to make it better. Just want to make it that
It filled up that court though.
it's totally full of work.
There's no other room.
No, and then next week the fire truck's coming out. We'll come see them and sell some of your shirts.
I think that's his plan, right? He was talking about,
Yeah. Yeah, we're good. We have a place already for you guys.
It's also the kind of thing that once you do it,
I wasn't handling it.
Oh, yeah, and then, once we start to get a little bit more attendance, News 4 News is gonna come out to cover it. Produce Pete, the guy who's always on News 4 in the mornings, he's got a memoir coming out, so he's doing both signings, so he'll come and then they'll film, and hopefully we'll get a little close to the library, what the library's getting, his memoir, so we'll just try and.
I don't know that the average Seabright resident knew about it, really. Facebook maybe, but if they're not on social media. Yeah.
It'll get around. And I think getting some of the signs. And time-wise, I mean, I know it's a tricky time, 9 to 2, maybe we can try and move it 11 to 4, which will be a little further, so just some things that I'm trying to work on.
I think the people there appreciated the wind, so that's a lot of stuff is blowing around, so now they can work on that and we're fine. Just one thing I like the Island Way and Garden Way, are they hoping to do that this fall?
Yeah.
We're looking to bid that in September. We got comments back from the DOT, which submitted plans, they're back, so we're ready to go out and bid.
And so they actually start to work this fall?
Yes.
Yes, but
We hope to finish it.
we gotta ask Rick how he's gonna handle that.
Should I add more points to that?
I would at this point, if we don't have the funding, then it's easier to knock it off than it is to try to re-add.
I'm going to executive session.